panelists will take 15 minutes for their talk. And I'm sort of the time monitor, so I'll try to let you know when we get down to the last couple of minutes. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our first panelist for tonight. Dr. Maria Vulpi is professor and director of the Dispute Resolution Consortium at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice at City University in New York. The Dispute Resolution Consortium is a university-based academic center which serves as a comprehensive coordinating mechanism to advance research and innovative program development throughout the city, university, as well as New York City. The consortium addresses all kinds of difficult issues using a variety of innovative formats, including dialogues, town meetings, mediation, and related informal dispute resolution processes. The title of Dr. Vulpi's talk is Conflict and Humiliation, the Simplicities of Reversing Destructive Conflict. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Vulpi.
It's a real pleasure to be here, and particularly to be on a panel with such distinguished colleagues. I addressed most of my points this morning, so for those of you who were here this morning, some of this may be repetitious. I wanted to elaborate just a bit. But for those of you who weren't here, what I want to focus on are the simplicities of preventing and reversing destructive conflict. Imagine very complex, painful, long-standing conflicts between parties where everyone is suspicious and distrustful of everyone else. Short of physical violence, the conflicting parties have masterminded every possible way of backstabbing and destroying each other's reputation, self-confidence, etc. for years. In very graphic terms, the parties describe the situation as painful, infuriating, exasperating. You can fill in all the adjectives. Quite simply, everyone has been humiliated by each other's actions and words. And often, those kinds of situations are described and discussed in very abstract theoretical terms. I'm going to try to be pretty concrete about these situations that I'm going to focus on. When we're working with parties involved in these highly intractable situations for countless hours, days, weeks, months, and for some individuals, years, one tries to imagine what the parties might look for in the way of future arrangements. Given the complexity of issues, relationships, feelings, frustrations, one wonders how laden with complex terms the parties will define any future relationship with each other. The theme of my remarks on simplicities of preventing and reversing destructive conflicts have grown out of my many mediation sessions where everyone has humiliated everyone else for years, perhaps not even spoken except through intermediaries, and where the conflicting parties have really hurt each other for a very long time. In addition to the hurt that they have felt, they also portray their situation as physically debilitating. As I mentioned this morning, with severe migraines, ulcers, backaches, rashes, and even protracted therapy for many. In my work as a mediator of intractable conflicts who hears of the language of distrust, miscommunication, misunderstanding, and suspicion, I have to try to help the parties to find ways to move on. The context that I'm referring to here are the intractable situations on university campuses that I have had firsthand experience with. I have to say that I took a break from here to go back to my office and found myself totally immersed in this highly intractable situation I'm working on, and found an email from one of them who said, Maria, I've been trying to call you, but your mailbox is full. I think they all called and filled that mailbox. Ken, I'm using fictitious names, another faculty member, called me last night, and we talked about the girl issue. I know some of you this morning thought that these were issues around highly significant academic issues. The issue that he's referring to here is that one of the female members who I was meeting with yesterday expressed concern about being referred to as girls. And the two of the gentlemen at some point or other have referred to the female members of the department as girls. So he says, Ken had different recollections from me. A lot I seem to have forgotten, I think because the context was different. Martha relaying that this was overheard in the hall threw me off. Ken believes, and I have no reason to contradict him, that it was in his car going home. But in retrospect, I do have some other feelings I wish to discuss with you regarding things that came up. It's not those difficult issues that you all... I have now spent, I can't tell you how many hours, not only with this group, but with others, over electrical outlets, paint jobs, schedules, keys. I can't tell you how many issues come up over who has the keys and who's not going to get keys. Remarkable issues that have caused the kinds of intractable situations that and feelings and frustrations and sense of humiliation and things that they've said to each other over matters that are not those significant, important, theoretical academic issues. Increasingly, I found that when the parties are asked what next steps they would like to take to move on, it's not unusual to hear something as simple as I mentioned this morning. Can we agree to say good morning when we see each other tomorrow? That simple move has reminded me of how basic, how simple we have to get to reverse those actions which contribute to potentially destructive conflict. And then when the parties begin to communicate, all of the past ways in which they have managed to humiliate each other in the past do not disappear. The parties need to be prepared to anticipate ways to deal with the potential minefields of humiliation. Inevitably, they will say something that will irritate the other and remind them of the humiliation they endured through put-downs of the past. So again, what are the simplicities of preventing and reversing humiliation that will reverse the potential destructive conflict in the future? Let the parties figure out what they can do. And some of those are the simple ways, again, that I mentioned this morning. How to use an ouch rule. Can they say to each other something like, this is something that bothers me and I'd like to talk to you? Some of them don't have a sense of how to even begin that kind of conversation with each other, or where to approach each other in a safe place, or how to paraphrase what the other one has said so that they feel heard, and giving them tips with how to start that with what I heard you say is. Or that they could say to each other, I'll speak to you later about the situation. Finally, there are all those others who help to construct the dynamics of humiliation, the allies and the adversaries. They too continue to play a role even after the parties have had an opportunity to share their concerns with each other. The parties themselves need to be prepared to deal with others. For example, how can we help them to rehearse what they will say to all of those who are bystanders in their conflict situation? As I mentioned this morning, at the CUNY Dispute Resolution Consortium for the past year and a half, we've had a Make Talk Work initiative where we've been developing bookmarks. What we've been doing is taking complex topics used by dispute resolvers and trying to find simple ways to share them on bookmarks for the public. This is a project that grew